You're watching Indian Dialogues. Namaskar, I am Ajay Kumar. Disturbing, distressing, disheartening, as much as these videos might be, they convey a reality. If a state administration decides to prevent any action or an agitation, they can do so as long as they have the mandate. Police and security forces in Haryana lobbed tear gas shells on protesting farmers who have been adopting all violent means possible at their disposal to drive down to Delhi. They want to come to Delhi because this is the clarion call of Dilli Chalo. The visuals of farmers running across the fields, driving their tractors and trolley in an unending queue along the Chandigarh highway to Delhi, young men, teenagers, even women, all this makes you not just sympathetic to their cause, but even compels blind support within your heart. After all, is there any Indian who's not a desi? क्या इस देश में कोई ऐसा है जो अपने आप को किसान का बच्चा नहीं बोलेगा? क्या ऐसा नहीं है कि 3-4 पुश्ते पहले हम सबों के पूर्वज किसान ही थे? वैसे भी किसानों को पुलिस की लाठियां पड़ी और बंदे का खून न खौले, ऐसे मुर्दे तो हम नहीं हुए. Now if rationality is thrown to the wind, this shall guide you further and make you believe what most protesting farmers today believe, that the government is kicking the andata and picking the big business houses. Questions that need to be asked and answered are very simple. Do the farmers understand what they are demanding? And are the demands which are being made by their leaders going to be firm on the ground of reason and practicality? Will the demands made by the farmers stand their ground on practicality? For e.g., a very close friend of mine, a young friend, always asks me when I make a very unconventional statement. So he says, for e.g., for example. So let's look at the demands of the farmers who are progressing on Delhi Chalo 2.0. The first and the foremost demand is enactment of MSP as a law. MSP, that is minimum support price, and it should be based on the recommendations of Swaminathan Committee report, which means that the government should purchase all types of farm produce, all produce related with agriculture at least 50% and above the cost of production of that crop or anything pertaining to agriculture. Let me break this down further for simple digestion. The demand is that the central government should purchase all the farm produce, all agricultural produce in India at a minimum support price fixed by the government, where the MSP should be at least 50% over and above the cost of production of the crop or the total input cost. Now, the total value of farm produce, which takes into consideration crops, fisheries, animal husbandries, forest related products, everything taken together, in India stands at approximately 40 lakh crore. Now let's take an example of 25 crops which come under the purview of minimum support price. Now if the recommendations of Swaminathan Committee are implemented even for these 25 crops, then what is the status going to be? As of now, based on the data available with us, for the financial year 2020-21, these 25 MSP covered crops amount to a market value of 10 lakh crores. Now, if you take this figure, it is approximately equal to the capital expenditure set aside by the present government for the financial year 2023-24. Now, do you believe that there is any government across the world which will equate its capital expenditure to farm subsidy or agricultural subsidy or bring them at the same level? It beats logic, right? If any country were to ever do this, the first question is, where will the nation get the money from to provide this amount of subsidy? When a government sets aside some 11 lakh crore as capital investment, it builds roads, ports, airports, railways, townships, industries, manufacturing units, public sector enterprises. All these in turn provide employment, give a boost to the service sector, and ultimately give back the rotation in the economy where the economy progresses. Now, herein lies the question. The big farm leaders, the opposition cheerleaders, they all know what they're talking about, but they also know how to make fools out of ill-informing the farmers and making them scapegoats for political ambitions. Another point that I want to put in as for EG. Do you know when was Swaminathan Committee constituted? It was constituted on 18th of November 2004. It gave 5 reports. The last and the final report was put out by Swaminathan Committee on 4th of October 2006. The government in power at that point was UPA, led by the Congress party. Can anyone ask the Congress party, mind you please, can you tell us what did you do sitting on this report from 2006 till 2014 when you were in power? The MSP concept was prevalent from the 2000s. And the governments thereafter have been declaring MSP, which is nothing but a soap, an offer of assistance to the farming community. Can a law be now made that the assistance will then become a guarantee? Can anyone ever guarantee this? Any government? Obviously, the Congress-led UPA could not, dare not, and even the present government cannot enact a law like this. But the demands are being made. Other interesting facts also need to be brought out. What is the first recommendation of this Swaminathan Committee report? You'll be shocked. It doesn't talk about MSP as the first recommendation. The first recommendation is that land sealing should be forcefully employed and surplus land should be redistributed among the landless. May I ask the big farmer friends from Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, Rajasthan, are you willing to give up your extra land over and above the land sealing that will be imposed by the state governments? With conviction, I can say none of the big farmers or the big feudal farmer families would ever agree to this. So why make this demand? Why ask for the implementation of the Swaminathan Committee report when you yourself do not want land redistribution and you want to maintain your hegemony? Political power. Next, what is it that the farmers are demanding right now who are coming to Delhi? They are asking for 200 work days of Manrega with a minimum payment per day of 700 rupees. First and foremost, are Manrega funds being utilized by all the state governments to the fullest? The answer is an emphatic no. So why are the state governments unable to provide even 100 days of employment to unemployed in the agricultural field? Nobody wants to answer this. But yes, they want to demand 700 rupees per day. Now, if the government starts paying 700 rupees per day for farm laborers for a day's salary as a wage, what will happen to the small and marginal farmers who also employ laborers? At least they will have to pay 1000 rupees per day. Which marginal farmer has the capacity to pay 1000 rupees per day per laborer working on his field? So clearly this is something which is absolutely out of the box, cannot be implemented. But yes, it can be demanded. And can anybody ever think of the final landing cost of the crop? Which farmer will then find a market to sell the produce? There should be adequate demand to buy it. Will this not lead to massive food inflation? Nobody is thinking about it. Another big demand by the Farmers Association is waive off all farm loans and also provide them free electricity. Amend the 2020 electricity bill is what they ask. Brilliant demand, sir. Absolutely everything should be free. Why not? Make it free for all the taxpayers also. Why should the middle class, some 8 crore people who fall in the tax bracket, pay taxes? After all, farm income is not taxed. Farmers do not pay income tax unless you are a very rich farmer and you're declaring massive incomes, which you don't. So, why should the middle urban class, service class, pay taxes for everything that you desire, that you want to avail of, which you will not pay for at all, should be free for you, but the middle class should keep paying the taxes? Do you think the middle class are fools? Are they not your brothers, sisters? Why do you think that 75% of India should live on free notion? You want everything free, but you do not want to contribute to the economy. Why? Just because you're andatas. And who are the rest? They are your children only. I can go on, and I can keep providing this for EG. But the point that I want to make is, the farmers' protest is nothing but an organized spectrum of demands laid down by political parties and big landlords who are misleading the bulk of the farmers, who are the small and marginal farmers. The demands from government that should really come about can be enumerated as follows. First and foremost, let's ask for agricultural reforms, proper reforms on the ground. Let's have defined and open market operations with absolute transparency within the entire agricultural sector. The Mandi should be regulated. Not a single state should have mandis which are unregulated, and no state should have the power to deregulate a mandi. The biggest demand should be remove all middlemen. Let the farmers sell directly to the consumers, or at least to big people who can actually put the produce in the market. Warehousing facilities should be provided and storage facilities should be made available to common man, common farmer, so that he can store his product and procure better price when the prices rise. Reduce the transportation cost, and everyone should have access to all the mandis across the country. I produce pineapples in northeastern India and I should be able to sell it in Chennai. Why can't I do that? The biggest problem is that we do not want to address key issues. We just want to talk about doles. Why don't the big farmers ever come up with a suggestion that they are willing to give up their extra land to the people who are marginal and small farmers? Safeguarding farmers' interest is something which we should always talk about. Contract farming is a reality. Why is it not demanded from the government that make a ironclad structure whereby no corporate can ever dupe a landowner from his land because of the contract? So basically what's happening, in the garb of farmers' rights, divisive forces, opposition parties and several vested interests are diverting the entire cause of the farmers for their personal nefarious gains. No one is really speaking about the kisan. हर कोई बहती गंगा में हाथ धो रहा है साहब। किसानों की कोई सुध नहीं लेने वाला। सवाल यह है कि सत्ता कैसे हासिल की जाए और देश पर राज कैसे किया जाए। May I ask the political parties which are giving full credence and support to the farmers' agitation? Many of them have been in power in this country for 50 years and plus. Did you ever attempt agricultural reforms of the types that we have just talked about? The only thing that the Congress-led UPA did was in 2009 by waiving off 78,000 crores of farm loans. And when broken down to the last bone, it was something like somebody was getting a benefit of 250 rupees. That is what happened in 2009. But it was a recipe for a victory by the Congress party for the second term. So this holy trinity of big landlords, opposition parties and vested interests, they keep peddling lies. They ill-inform the farmers. जिस कौम के नाम पर राजनीति करने की ये कोशिश करते हैं, उसी कौम के साथ धोखा भी करते हैं.